I never believed in haunted objects, ghost stories, cursed relics, mirrors that trap souls. I thought those were just tales people told to entertain themselves. That was before I found the mirror. It was an antique, buried under a pile of old furniture in the attic of my grandmother's house. She had passed away months ago, and it fell upon me to clean out the place before we put it up for sale. The attic was a suffocating mess of dust and forgotten relics. But the moment I uncovered the mirror, something about it made me stop. It was large, framed in dark, almost black wood, with intricate carvings of twisting vines and strange symbols that looked like they belonged to no language I had ever seen. The glass was old but not cracked, just slightly clouded, as if it had been hiding something behind its surface. I should have left it there. Something deep in my gut told me not to take it. But logic overpowered instinct, as it always did. It was just a mirror, after all. So, I brought it home. That night, as I set it against my bedroom wall, a strange unease settled over me. I told myself it was because I had been working all day and was exhausted. The dim light of my bedside lamp cast long shadows across the room, and the mirror reflected them back at me. But something was off. The reflection felt different. It wasn't immediate. Just a sense that the shadows in the mirror lingered a second longer than they should have. That the space inside it was slightly deeper, slightly darker than my actual room. I blamed it on my imagination. The first real sign that something was wrong came the following night. I had just turned off the lights when I heard it. A faint, almost imperceptible sound, like fabric brushing against fabric. I sat up in bed, my eyes adjusting to the darkness, scanning the room. My gaze fell on the mirror. For a second I thought I saw something move. Not my reflection, not a trick of the light. Something inside the mirror. I turned on the lamp. Nothing. Just my own tired face staring back at me. I let out a shaky breath and ran a hand through my hair, laughing at myself. Maybe I had spent too much time alone in that attic. The next few days, I kept telling myself I was imagining things. The feeling of being watched. The occasional flicker of motion in the glass that vanished when I looked directly at it. But then, on the third night, something happened that I couldn't explain away. I woke up at exactly 3:12 a.m. My room was silent except for the soft hum of my heater. At first I didn't know what had woken me. Then I saw it. The mirror. The reflection wasn't right. It was my room, yes. But the details were wrong. The books on my desk weren't in the same order. The curtains were slightly open in the mirror, even though I knew I had shut them before bed. My reflection was there, lying in bed, but it wasn't asleep. It was staring at me. Not like a normal reflection, not mirroring my movements. It was lying perfectly still, eyes wide open, looking directly at me. I couldn't move. My breath caught in my throat as I watched my own unmoving reflection, its chest rising and falling in slow, deliberate breaths. Then slowly, it smiled, a cold, twisting grin that did not belong to me. I scrambled out of bed, knocking over my lamp in my rush to get away from the mirror. The glass shimmered for a second, as if rippling, and when I looked again, everything was normal. The books were where they should be. The curtains were closed. My reflection was just my reflection, blinking back at me with the same fur in its eyes that I felt in my chest. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. But the worst part, the next morning, I found fingerprints on the inside of the glass. I wanted to get rid of the mirror. That was my first instinct the morning after the reflection smiled at me. But when I tried to move it, something strange happened. The moment my fingers touched the frame, a sharp, freezing sensation shot through my hands, like touching ice in the dead of winter. My muscles tensed, my breath hitched, and for a split second, I felt something resisting. Not physically. There was no pressure pushing back against me, but something deeper, something unseen, as if the mirror itself wanted to stay where it was. I yanked my hands away, my pulse hammering in my ears. My fingertips were numb, tingling with the cold that didn't belong in my heated room. That was when I knew this wasn't just a mirror. It was something else, something alive. I avoided it as much as I could, but it was impossible not to feel its presence. Every time I entered my room, my eyes were drawn to it. Sometimes, even when I wasn't looking, I could feel the weight of its gaze on me, like an invisible force pressing against my back. The worst part was that I started hearing things. Soft, almost imperceptible whispers, like voices carried through a tunnel, coming from the mirror when the house was silent. I couldn't make out the words, but the sound sent chills through my body. And then, on the fifth night, I made a mistake. I don't know what compelled me to do it. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the gnawing curiosity clawing at the back of my mind. Maybe it was the mirror itself. But that night, instead of looking away, I stood in front of it. At first, my reflection looked normal. My face was pale, dark circles under my eyes, my breathing slow and uneven. But then, I noticed something. The room behind my reflection wasn't my room. It was similar, but not the same. The colors were muted, the shadows stretched too long, and the air inside the mirror seemed thicker, almost like looking through a fogged-up window. And then, my reflection blinked, not at the same time as me. It moved independently. My stomach clenched as I watched myself in the glass tilt its head slightly, studying me the way a predator studies its prey. Then slowly, it raised a hand, not mirroring me, but acting on its own. It lifted a single finger and pointed behind me. A breath caught in my throat. My body locked up. I didn't want to turn around. Every fiber of my being screamed at me not to look, but I did. The room was empty. Just the dim glow of my bedside lamp, the silent furniture, the closed door. Nothing out of place. I turned back to the mirror, and my reflection wasn't there. The mirror still reflected the room, but I was gone. A hollow, unnatural silence filled the space, like the air had been sucked out of it. My chest tightened. My own reflection was missing. But before I could even process that, something else moved inside the glass. Not me, something deeper in the mirror. A shadow shifting in the background, just barely out of focus. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was something, and it was moving closer. My heartbeat pounded in my ears as the shape began to take form. A figure, tall and indistinct, its limbs too long, its head slightly tilted as if listening. It didn't step forward. It slid closer, soundless, gliding through the distorted version of my room inside the mirror. Then, as if finally noticing that I could see it, it stopped and grinned. Not just with a mouth. The entire surface of its face split into a grin, stretching too wide, teeth forming where there should have been none. The light in my room flickered. The temperature dropped so suddenly that my breath turned into mist. And then, a whisper right behind me. A voice low and rasping, curling around my ear like gold fingers. Come closer. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own feet. My pulse roared in my head as I reached for something, anything, to defend myself. But when I looked back, the mirror was normal again. My reflection was back, mirroring my every move. The room inside the glass was just my room. No shadow, no grinning figure, no whispering voice. But I knew it was still there, watching, waiting. I should have left the house that night. I should have smashed the mirror, burned it, anything to get rid of it. But I didn't. Fear had rooted me in place, trapping me in a cycle of hesitation. Even though I knew something was inside that mirror, something watching, waiting, I stayed. Maybe I thought ignoring it would make it go away. Maybe I was too afraid to acknowledge the truth. It wasn't trapped inside the mirror anymore. It was getting out. The first real sign came the next night. I had forced myself to sleep with my back to the mirror, trying to pretend it wasn't there. But something woke me up. A faint creaking sound, like someone shifting their weight on an old wooden floor. My body tensed. My eyes snapped open. The room was dark, silent, but something felt different. The air was heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness. My breath came out slow and uneven as I scanned the room, my pulse hammering in my throat. I didn't want to look at the mirror. I didn't want to see. But my gaze was drawn to it anyway. And that was when I saw it. The mirror was no longer reflecting my room. It showed something else entirely. A dark corridor, stretching endlessly into blackness. The walls were rough, uneven, like the inside of a cave. And in the distance, standing just at the edge of the dim light, the figure. It was closer than before. It didn't move at first, just stood there, motionless, watching me. Its body was long, unnaturally thin, its head slightly tilted. Even though I couldn't see its eyes, I felt them burning into me. And then, slowly, it lifted one hand. Its fingers curled, beckoning. My breath hitched, my entire body locked up with terror. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, and then the glass shattered, not all at once, but in slow, deliberate cracks, spider webbing across the surface like something inside was pushing to get out. My heart slammed against my ribs as I scrambled out of bed, backing away, my mind racing for an explanation. Any explanation that didn't mean what I knew it meant. Then the lights in my room flickered. A deep, suffocating cold spread through the air. And before I could react, a hand, a single pale, impossibly long hand, reached through the cracks in the mirror. I choked on a scream as the fingers twitched, flexing unnaturally, gripping the frame of the mirror like it was pulling itself through. The whisper came again. "Let me in." I stumbled backward, crashing into my desk, knocking over books and papers. My hands scrambled for something, anything, to defend myself. My mind screamed at me to run, to get out of that room, but my body was frozen with terror. Then the hand slid further out, an arm, then a shoulder. The figure was crawling out of the mirror, its movements slow and deliberate, like a spider emerging from its nest. Its body was impossibly thin, stretched, its skin pale and smooth like wax. And then it lifted its head and smiled, not with lips, not with a mouth, with its entire face. The skin peeled back, revealing rows of jagged teeth that extended where no human features should be. Its grin stretched too wide, splitting open into something unnatural, something wrong. I snapped out of my paralysis. With every ounce of strength I had, I grabbed the heaviest object within reach. a metal lamp, and hurled it at the mirror. The moment it made contact, a deafening screech tore through the air, not from the mirror, from inside it. The figure recoiled, its head snapping toward me, and in that instant, I knew. If it got out, I wouldn't survive. I didn't think. I ran. I bolted out of my room, slamming the door behind me, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The walls seemed to close in around me as I stumbled down the hallway, my legs shaking beneath me. Then, footsteps, not behind me, not in front of me, above me, the ceiling, a slow, deliberate tapping sound, like fingers drumming against wood. My blood turned to ice. It was on the ceiling, and it was following me. I didn't look up. I couldn't look up. I ran for the front door, my hands fumbling with the lock. But the moment I yanked it open, the night outside wasn't right. It wasn't my street. It was the corridor from the mirror, stretching endlessly into the dark, and standing at the end of it was me. Not a reflection, not an illusion, another version of me, smiling, whispering, "You shouldn't have looked." I slammed the door shut, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My hand shook as I backed away, my body pressed against the cold. I felt the breath of it against my ear, ice cold and unnatural. My body seized in terror as I turned, hands fumbling blindly for anything to defend myself with. But there was nothing there, just the suffocating silence. Then, a hand slammed against the mirror in the hallway, not from my side, from inside it. My own reflection stood there, but it wasn't me anymore. The eyes were empty voids, the grin stretched impossibly wide. The hands pressed against the glass, fingers twitching, pushing, trying to get out. The entire house trembled. The walls groaned as if something immense was shifting inside them. The ceiling above me creaked. The air became thick, heavy, making it hard to breathe. And then, the mirror shattered. Glass exploded outward, and from the shards, the figure emerged. Not slowly this time, not crawling. It rushed forward. A towering, twisted version of me, its limbs stretching unnaturally, its grin splitting its face like a wound. It moved in jerking, unnatural motions, its body bending in ways that no human should be able to. I tried to run, but it was faster. The cold, claw-like fingers wrapped around my throat. The world blurred. My own screams choked in my throat as the room around me faded, the walls stretching, twisting. My body was yanked backward, through the shards of glass, through the mirror. And suddenly, I was inside. The hallway from the reflection stretched in every direction, endless, suffocating. The air was thick, damp, filled with an unnatural silence. My body felt weightless, like I wasn't fully there. And then I turned, standing in front of me, where I had been just seconds ago. Was it? It looked like me. But I knew it wasn't. It smiled, tilting its head as if amused. Then, slowly, deliberately, it turned around and walked out of the mirror, into my world. I lunged forward, screaming, slamming my hands against the glass. But there was no sound, no resistance, just smooth, solid surface beneath my palms. I was trapped. I pounded against the mirror, but my reflection, the thing wearing my face, only grinned wider. Then I watched in horror as it lifted a single hand and waved. It turned away, stepping into my life, into my world. And I could do nothing but watch as it left me behind, forever.